Just interesting. You got to do it. There you go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Todd's Pod. This week we have Joe. He's a friend of mine in recovery. Hey, Joe. How are you today? Doing well. Doing good. Okay, cool. So I've known Joe for a while. Our story goes back quite a bit. I'll let him tell you his story. So Joe, tell us about yourself. Tell us everything.
Everything.
Not everything. What you feel comfortable with.
Well, excuse me. Um, well, like some of us who are recovering now, I didn't come from the exact the best childhood growing up and stuff. My mother was a drug addict, and dad was in prison at a very young age when I was a baby, and so my mom was a single mom, using, and mom only knew as much as she knew, and so I did a lot of bouncing around growing up, from family member, etc. I was always the kid, very depressed kid, seeking attention, all the behaviors that at the time I didn't know what was going on as far as my behavior. Right? I was just a kid, but bounced around a lot as a kid. Grandma took me and my sister in, and things were okay for a while. Mom tried to get clean or whatever. Not through any program or anything. She just tried to stop using. Of course, you can't just stop using something. It's not working. That was pretty much how my childhood started off, man. It was a lot of depression and loneliness and feelings like abandonment and me just trying to do the best I could like at school and stuff with dad not being around or father figure or no role models in my life. When I started growing up, once I started getting to my early teens and stuff, I started reaching out or seeking attention and hanging out with the street guys, people in the street, and they were doing things illegal things, and so and they gave me the attention, and they so I kind of just gravitated towards them, and hung out with these guys were a lot older than me, and so that's what I did, man, and I got into it, and obviously I knew already what substances were because of my childhood and my mom and my family members. I had a few family members, a good amount of them who used, some of them still use. I got really close to some guys who were involved in the lifestyle, and that was attractive to me. Money and nice cars and jewelry and all that stuff. And so, my role models were people in that business.
Right.
I did that, and then I really grew up always saying I'm not going to be a drug. I don't want to be an addict. I don't want to be like my parents or do that. Be an addict. And so that was my mentality for a good while. Even when I was introduced to the lifestyle in my teens, obviously I started using, man, probably like 15, 16. Started off real slow, with alcohol and smoking weed and all that good stuff. Anyways, it was fun.
Good stuff at the time.
It was fun. I'm not gonna say here and lie and say that in my active addiction early on, it was really fun. It was fun because I was young and it was like a thing to do, and I had friends and everything was all good. It was fun until it wasn't fun anymore. And it went on and it just progressed, and the depression got worse, and you know, and with that, with my addiction progressing, I saw a lot of the consequences behind it. Yeah, I can tell you one time. I don't share too much about this to some people, to a lot of people, but yeah, part of when I was in my addiction, I was 23, and I got you an argument with you guys. Please, oh shit, sorry, folks. Just for- And so yeah, I was 23, and I was under the influence, and got into a little something with some guys who I didn't know. They weren't from here. And yeah, long story short, man, I ended up getting shot 3 times, and I spent some time in a juice coma. I spent like almost 2 months in a juice coma. So that you would think would have slowed me down. And at the time, I didn't know what it was going to bring. You know, when I came out of the hospital, there was a lot of I wasn't rehab, but there was a lot of other procedures that had to be done, and I was still getting around with the cane, and I didn't know at the time, but yeah, it really turned up my addiction and my use of substances. Yeah, I can remember like one of the first days getting out of the hospital and going to my grandmother's, and I was drinking everything and stuff and just doing other stuff too, and that went on, and it just got worse. And it was probably maybe a year or 2 later when yeah, it just got really, really bad, really, really dark. And yeah, man, I just continued using, and obviously the consequences of jails, institutions and stuff, and I ended up getting arrested. My last time, October 4th of 2018, and I had used pretty much almost every day from 15, 16 to 38, every day as long as I could remember. And the only times I ever stopped was when I was going to jail. And that was the only way I knew how to stop. And so whenever I get out, I always do the whole substitution type stuff. Like when I'd say, oh, I'm just going to drink, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do it this way. And that never worked for me, right? So this time when I got arrested in 2018, I was completely tired. I was tired already, like for the years before that. And when I was arrested in 2018, I remember clearly like being in my jail cell and doing something that I didn't do very much back then, and I prayed. I said a prayer. It was a very, very emotional and spiritual moment in my life, and I think that was the beginning of my recovery. I cried out to God literally, and yeah, I was I'm tired. I really, really want to like stop living this way. And it was like this emotion, this flood of tears. You know, eventually in that little time period, I say little time period, but I spent a year in that time in jail. I ended up getting moved, and I was in a dorm or a pod, and some of the guys there in the pod who were going to meetings, they were being done with the county jail, and they said you should probably come check them out, man. And so, yeah, I was like, yeah, that's good. I'm down. I just wanted to get out of the pot. And so I signed up and I go and I remember going to the first one and there was two ladies who were doing the H&I presentation, and they really, one of them really, they both did both. One of the ladies really, stood out to me when she shared some of her story with us, because I could immediately I could relate to what she was saying. And at the time, I think the lady had 16 years clean, and I was like, man, this lady can do it. I mean, first to begin with, I had no idea what a 12-step program was, or fellowship was, or any of this. I've never, I mean, I heard of certain things from what I see on TV and stuff, but I didn't know what it was about. Like, and so she told me what she was doing, and she gave me some suggestions, and I kept going with it the whole time I was there. Every time they'd offer it there in the pod, I'd sign up and I'd go. I think that was God's work, God working in my life, putting something in my life that I needed in order for me to stay clean when I got out of jail that time. So I continued doing that. I ended up getting out, and one of the suggestions they gave me was, when you get out of here, go to a meeting, and you know, don't go back to the people you were hanging out with. Go to a meeting, you know, and get sponsored, and the work steps, you know, all the suggestions that we hear when we're in a meeting, right? And I did. I didn't have any. I did have someone who I went to my sister's, but she was using. So I didn't want to stay there because I was really focused on my recovery. I ended up going to a homeless shelter where I stayed there for another 11 or so months. And at that homeless shelter, there was a meeting. It was actually 2 weeks. Go on right around the corner from the same campus, but around the corner there. And I went to my first outside meeting, and it was life changing. You know, there was people there who had multiple years of recovery, and I was like, well, man, this might really work. And I had the desire to not get high. And I think that's the most important thing. In my recovery was I knew that in my mind, my heart, I didn't want to get high, and I told me, well, if you just keep coming, man, just keep coming, it'll be easier. I knew I didn't want to get high, I just didn't know how to do it. And so I just going it, and I ended up finding out there's meetings every day. And so, I did that. I was going to meetings every day, multiple meetings at times. Obviously, I found myself a sponsor. And you know, they said you have to be of service. I was like, well, what's that? You can do a multitude of different things, but you're not going to get paid. Yeah. And that was cool with me. I was like, all right, I'll do whatever I have to do. And so I was of service, and I'm still of service today to fellowship. And man, my life was although it was not very pretty, or you know, there wasn't really like much hope for me growing up. I didn't feel like there was. When I was introduced to this recovery thing, I really saw some hope. I met people. I still meet people every day. Who just give me that hope, that hope shot. That, you know, I can continuously keep them after you every day. And they told me if you keep still, you just don't pick it up, right? Don't get high, and your life gets better. And I'm here to work a program, right? And so I started doing that. I've been working program and you know, stay connected with people in recovery. And my life has been like a complete 180. I was a kid who didn't want to live. And so I struggled with depression. I still struggle with depression. I'm grateful that today I have something that helps me with that. I have a program that people surround me who care about me, care about what I'm doing and what I'm putting in my body and who I'm hanging out with and where I'm going and stuff. So I'm grateful for those things. And yeah, so my life changed. I'm 180 degrees. I now like this is my life. I put recovery. I make recovery in my life. I can't put my life as a part of this. Like this, I forget how the term goes, but I got to put recovery first. In order for me to continue to stay clean and do the things that this that we do here, helping others and being of service to people. And yeah, I'm actually living the best life I've ever had. I've had people tell me pretty recently too, since I've gotten clean and even recently now, like Joe, you seem like you got this spirit about you, and you always seem to be like upbeat and happy. And I'm like, man, if you only
It's a dream life. It's a dream life.
So,
couple questions.
okay, go ahead.
First question. I just want to touch on where you said that you put your recovery first for people that maybe aren't familiar with our lives and what that means. I mean, that encompasses God, family, all these things that come first in our life that we really didn't put first before. You know, because I've had people when I tell them, the recovery is the most important part of my life. God, God is recovery, So I just want to emphasize that because I know that you feel that way. My question, so at what point, because you and I work in the same field and at that homeless shelter, at what point and what went through your head when you, or if you remember, when you decided that, hey, I want to do more than just be active in my recovery. I want to really go down and get on the front lines and try to save more people. What came about to make you make that decision, and how do you feel about that?
It didn't happen at the time. I didn't know, but whenever I was in jail and I saw that those ladies came in and were doing that and talking to us, and thinking to myself, wow, these ladies, like they have. I'm sure they have lives. Like they're recovering and clean, and they're coming into jail. Like, who wants to go to jail and hang out with a bunch of people? I'm like, I'm trying to get out of here. And these people come in. So then, at the time, I didn't know, but when I ended up seeing one of the ladies at a function, a recovery function, right? And it just so happens that I was asked to share my story that day at this function. And I knew then, I think I knew then that we all have a story. And it doesn't matter where you come from, the lifestyle you have, how your upbringing was, if you had the best job and lost it, or you had the best job and kept it, whatever it may be. But we all have like a common goal here. The purpose is recovery, not using growth spiritually. And I think God used, I want to say, I feel like God has been using me. All those experiences I had, and there was a lot of stuff that I'd rather not share about growing up, that happened throughout my childhood and adolescence and stuff, that has prepared me for where I'm at today.
That's almost exactly what I say. People are looking, you this bad life that I had. But in my mind, I feel like God had me experience every day of my life. One, knowing that I would survive, but two, knowing what the end was. Because I couldn't do today what I do today if I hadn't had all those experiences. So yeah, I remember you way back. Yeah. Before, not before recovery, but in your early recovery, you always struck me as somebody that, the thing is, you always stood tall. You were proud of your recovery. I remember when you came to work at that same place where we worked, and it was like, and I see people, and you can tell, because for me, and I'm sure probably the same for you, I'm going to be working not necessarily at that place, but in this field for the rest of my life. But that's not my recovery. I have recovery outside of what I do for a living, but my our living is trying to help save people, as many people as possible, right? And so you do a group, right?
I do a small. Well, I say small. It's a there's not too many boards in, but I do keep the doors open there on campus. It's just a small little Narcotics Anonymous group for the guys on campus. I remember like when I was there, there was a lot of people who didn't know what recovery was either, like like me before I came in, and so yeah, I just like to have that option, give them that option, give them that space, so they can be introduced to the recovery program, the 12-step program, because I know it's like it saved my life, it's saving my life, it's saving lives all over the world, like to be honest. And so if somebody asks me about, hey, well, what kind of meeting do you have, what kind of so it's a recovery, we're based on recovery, right? It's an Narcotics Anonymous meeting, goes on twice a week. Sometimes it'll just be 2 of us. Sometimes there's 5 or 6 of us. Sometimes I'm sitting in the room by myself, but I'll sit there for the entire time. Maybe somebody might show up, right?
You never know.
And I try to keep literature there, and yeah, man, I just you never know who's in the meeting. And it's been going on. It's been going for a couple of years now, and that for me is, although it's something that kind of connected to my work. It's like you said, it's not my news for the guys that are coming in. I do share a little bit of work, like a little bit of what's going on with me, maybe that day or whatever. But yeah, man, I do try to keep my recovery, and what the best part about my recovery and working in this area is that I use the spiritual principles, the stuff that I'm learning in recovery, in all my affairs, at work, at home, with my friends, my relationships, and it's completely like changed my way of my day. It's like,
Speaking of your day, so you've been successful in your recovery. So people are probably wondering, hey, how does he do that? Tell me about Joe's morning when he first wakes up.
okay, my morning starts. Well, it's different. It's kind of changed, evolved throughout my years in recovery, and everybody's recovery is different. Right? I get up, I pray. It might not be immediately when I open up my eyes, although at one point it was like that.
Right.
At one point I'd wake up. As soon as I wake up, I'd start praying. And now it's changing a little bit, right? Life has changed for me. In these past almost 7 years now. So I get up. I'm blessed that I have a place to live, a nice place to live now. I get up. I make my coffee. I usually go outside, sit on the steps for 10 minutes, connect with the God that I know, have my understanding, have my coffee at the same time. Then I get my start getting ready for work. I drive to work and work, come home. I either hit a meeting, go to the gym, or do what needs to be done at the house, right? And yeah, pretty much my life is very simple today. But I've been blessed that I've been blessed these days. Like I've been able to travel. I've been able to go around the country, and all because of the recovery. Because I go and I see, I go to conventions, all over the country, meetings. I've been lucky to go to meetings in New York, in Florida, in California, and it's all a little bit. It's the same program. It's meetings are run a little bit different. But yeah, as far as my day to day, usually always starts with prayer. And 9 times out of 10, my day is going to go pretty decent if I start off with prayer.
Yeah, I know for me, and like you in the very beginning, it was wake up, pray. I mean, and I'm a big 3rd step prayer guy. That's my go-to pretty much almost. I will say that prayer every day.
Yeah.
But some days I don't do it when I first wake up. but it doesn't take me long to realize I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I want the coffee maker to go faster because
Yeah.
it's not, it's my will now, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Same like this morning. That's what happened with me.
yes. Yeah, so, okay, next question. What about when you go to bed?
Well, Brett, I usually thank God for another day.
Yeah.
I thank God for another day for giving me through the day, and you know, I do ask. You know, if I did do anything where you know maybe I might have hurt someone's feelings, maybe I might have said something, maybe I may have offended someone, or you know, I've learned to have a lot of grace on myself. But I thank God and I ask for grace. So I go to sleep, and it's not one of those things where I'm in bed stressing or worrying about who I'm doing for her or what I may have done wrong about something. You know, there's those first 3 steps are so important to utilize in my recovery, right? And so yeah, I got for the day, and you know, I try my best to you know, if I'm blessed enough to wake up the next day, and not do it again, just go about my day just the same way.
So you
Pretty
know,
simple.
you know,
Simple shit.
when I asked you about this, I said that there's no holds barred. I can ask you anything or whatever. I will throw you under the bus. So everybody out there, Joe indicated to me that he's thinking about starting a men's group.
Yeah.
So all you guys out there that know Joe, who you think you might want to be part of a men's group, you need to get with him and tell him you need to do more than think. So there you go. You're on the spot now. So the world knows that Joe was thinking about it. Now Joe's going to make a decision.
I really like to do a men's meeting. At some point, I've been thinking about it for a while now. There have been a few that I know of. I didn't attend because this was pre-COVID, but there was a few men's meetings that happened here in San Antonio that were doing well and they got out. You know, meetings come and go.
Yeah.
If they don't have your support. So I've been thinking about it. I just haven't got to the point. I also have a lot of other commitments I do for fellowships, and stuff. But I really, at some point down the line, I'd like to do it.
I probably just sped that down the line up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we have this new meeting place.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so God puts things in our lives, right? He didn't bring you here by accident. He didn't show you this nice, wonderful new meeting place that we have for anything. So we'll get together and we'll talk about that. So Joe, in closing, tell the world what you want them to know.
Well, let me see. If you're anything like I was growing up, you know, like I said earlier, I was very hopeless and depressed person growing up. I really didn't see any way out, and I really thought I was going to be an addict, a drug addict for the rest of my life. And so, you know, if you don't know what 12 steps are or what a 12-step program is, give it a try. And it's a very simple thing. It's a very simple program. We like to say it's a simple program for complicated people. We're very complicated and we have a lot of things that we need help with. But the number one thing we need to do is stop using drugs in order to get that help, right? But give yourself a chance then, give yourself a break. Go to a meeting, go to multiple meetings, remain open-minded. That's like also one of the top ones that I think I always suggest. Remain open-minded. I've always heard a lot of people say like, oh, that's for like this type of people, or people who just do this jam, or you know whatever. Addiction is more than just substances, in my opinion. And so, give yourself a break and remain open-minded. You gotta be willing to show up and do the work, right? It doesn't happen overnight, man. But just give yourself a break, and you'll see that life does get better, man. You don't think about it anymore. So
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, that's great.
We'll have to come back again sometime, okay?
Awesome, thanks.
All right. So everybody, thank you for tuning in to Todd's Pod this week. A couple of little things to say that I have started a 8 a.m. Saturday morning meeting for Opportunity Recovery Group. Opportunity Recovery Group basically encompasses all groups. It's not any one particular. It's not AA, NACA. It's kind of a composition of all of it together. So feel free to come by and join me next Sunday, 8 o'clock. It's 11622 El Sendero, San Antonio, Texas, 78233. And I will see y'all next week. Thank you.